I learned to let go in just 4 months. See, I was going through a crazy mental health crisis in 2019. I just had way too much on my plate. I was a college student looking for a job, dance captain of a Bollywood dance team, competing across the nation, and I didn't even know what the purpose of life was. I didn't even know if I liked my major. And long story short, I fell into this thing called psychosis where I lost my mind. My thoughts were so loud. I was randomly crying. I couldn't sleep. It was just constant paranoia for like months. But rather than taking medicine and going to therapy, I found a way out naturally. And since then, I applied a lot of yoga, right? Handling extreme temperatures. I've taken so many yoga courses, lectures, silence retreats, and I was able to achieve my dreams of dancing for the Detroit Pistons. And I'm currently living in my dream city, San Diego. And since then, I was like, if I can manifest my dreams and heal at the same time and change my reality, I'm sure other people can too. Since then, I've worked with a war veteran who was dealing with trauma from war, and now he's a published author. I've worked with a heartbroken entrepreneur. He's tripled his income. And I'm working with a doctor who was having her own health problems and realized she needs a way out that's not through medication and therapy. And if I can do it, so can you. So I'm just going to go over exactly how you can do the same, right? I'm just going to go over the problem and the symptoms, right? What caused the pain in me in the first place and all these other people, the solutions and the benefits that you're going to feel, and how you can actually take action so you can feel the benefits and change your reality. So stick to the end. So let's start right away. See, the problem that I faced is not being aware of my energy. See, there was way too much on my plate that caused restlessness. So, what were some of those things? Let's go with, practically speaking, what were the actions that I need to do? So, physically, right? Let's go physical and then mental and then emotional, because all three play a part in your energy, right? So, physically, what was happening to me, I had school, I had friend drama, college. Everybody was degenerate and everybody was having their own emotional battles. And I actually acted like a support system for a lot of them. But then at one point, I didn't have energy for myself. So how could I support others? And that's just when everything collapsed for me. Say girl drama, right? Nightlife, just losing sleep constantly, bad health. Um, let's say too many responsibilities, right? More than I can handle, which was being a part of a dance team while taking care of school. I butchered that spelling. Please ignore. So obviously, this created a lot of mental stress. Okay, and I want you to hold on to stress because stress is not just mental, because it leads to oxidative stress, and I'm gonna get to that in a bit. So what was happening mentally to me, right? So school wise, I'm like, did I even like it? Like, did I even like my major? What was like the point of even studying supply chain management? That's my major, right? Also, another thing was looking for internships, right? The whole job searching struggle, right? So I was questioning, did I even like what I was studying, right? With friend drama, right? It was just, problem solving constantly. So problem solving in schools, problem solving in personal life, right? Then girl drama, I was thinking like, what can I do, right? What can I do to win that girl, to like solve that problem over here with this girl, right? With nightlife, it was just like, is this even worth it? I was questioning, is all this even like worth my time, right? And responsibility wise, right? I was just also problem solving. And then with internship, that really came the past and future worry, right? Wondering like, oh, does my previous experience, is it good enough for future internships and stuff? Like, is this application going to go through? Am I even going to get a response? You know how that goes, right? And so all these things, what it did to me emotionally was it put me into a worried state, right? I was just drained, right? I was constantly questioning, right? At the same time, I was wondering like, what is life, right? What do I do? What is the real purpose, right? Even my dance team was like winning, right? But I was not happy, right? It was very weird. We were nationally ranked across the nation, but for whatever reason, I was not happy, right? And then no sleep, right? So I was constantly cranky but on top of being cranky, I was confused. Like, what do I do? What do I do? Right? And so all this really created oxidative stress. What is oxidative stress? Oxidative stress is when you lose energy from your body. Okay? Basically, at the molecular level, right? What happens is your atoms, right? Let's say this is an atom. It loses electrons, right? Which damages the cells, right? It heats up the cells. So temperature of your cells goes up, which creates inflammation. Okay? Inflammation of what? My stomach, my guts, my heart, my lungs, everything, right? It was all working overtime, and it just puts a stress on the digestion, your breathing, your immune system, right? So once your guts gets inflamed, and let's say it stays like that for a really long time, that leads to disease, right? Now, disease can look different for everybody, right? And before you even get to disease, what inflammation looks like is it could be rashes, headache, acne, right? Let's say white hair, hair loss. It could be weight, right? So these are all the signs of like, shit, my internal systems are not working properly. Why are they not working properly? Because of these emotions, right? This is the main cause of why oxidative stress happens. And so if this is there long enough, it leads to actual disease like cancer or like some other wild shit. Like, I don't know, freaking whatever your genes, all the bad stuff in your genes, the negative emotions are telling it, oh, okay, something is really bad going on. Time to turn up our stress chemicals, which are cortisol and adrenaline. Keep that up, and this is what happens, right? So these are the symptoms, and the problem is because there was way too much on my plate. And for me, I guess the disease that activated was mental, right? I literally lost control of my identity. I lost control of my sense of reality, and I was completely disassociated. My thoughts were too loud, so freaking loud. Okay, so the doctors are like, yo, you gotta take 3 medications for the rest of your life. This is who you are from now on. But luckily, by God's grace, there was a voice in my head saying, there is a way out naturally, right? Actually, I was lying down on my bed and I was trying to go to sleep, but I was getting all these weird thoughts. I thought I was gonna get deported back to India and my parents are gonna have to support me from India and stuff like that. I started screaming, and my parents came up in my room, and I was like, oh my God, I think I have to get deported. Like, I'm screwed, right? I was very detached, not even detached, like delusional about reality. And while I was tweaking, I was like crying, I was yelling, my parents were freaking out. I was like, wait a second. The inner voice is telling me something. I'm like, Dad, go to the bookshelf, get me the book Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Give me the book right now. And I went to, the sections, the chapters, and I opened to a certain page, and it said, in order to be present in the present moment and not stuck in your head, you have to be a master of time. And then my dad was like, what the hell? How did you do this, especially in a state like this, right? It was purely because of my inner voice, right? That is not my brain. So then what is it? My heart, right? My gut. Okay, as soon as I saw the word time, right? As soon as I saw the word time, I knew what needed to be done, right? I asked myself, who am I, right? Maybe you need to ask yourself these questions right now. What is the goal in the short term, right? What needs to be done like soon? For me, it was graduate college, all right, or not even graduate college, pass my classes so that I can continue on to the next semester. Okay, what that was a short-term goal. So then what is my role? Be a good student, right? Pay attention in class, take notes, review those notes, ignore distractions like my friends, like girls, like partying, like nightlife, like drugs, right? Ignore all of that. My role is to be a good student, right? And then I ask myself, what do I want the outcome to be, right? I was heading into my senior year, and I was like, okay, senior year is the start of full-time job searches. So then I was like, damn, I just want a good paying, work from home, consulting job where I can travel the world if I wanted to, right? That's it. It was just these three things, right? I did not complicate it at all because my mind was already so complex. I was literally thinking about the existence of reality and shit, right? But before I can think about the universe and consciousness and God, I had to think about myself, my role, my identity, right? And so with that came a lot of fears, right? I was dealing with so many thoughts, right? So many freaking thoughts. So here's an analogy that I want you to remember for the rest of your life because I recently got this. I always knew about this, but I didn't know how to put it into words until now. So lock in right now. So the mind is like a river, okay? Okay, and a river's flow changes, correct? It's not always fast, it's not always slow, it's not always rushing. The volume changes. There's not always a lot of water. Sometimes the water levels go down, it goes up, correct? Just like the mind. Sometimes there's a lot of thoughts, sometimes there's not a lot of thoughts. Sometimes it's very loud, sometimes it's quiet, correct? And in this case, my volume, right? The volume of thoughts was high. The speed was also high, right? So it was loud and it was fast. Bro, that's gonna make anybody go crazy. But then you have to think of your body as land, okay? Let me change this to green. You have to think of your body as land, okay? Pretend this is grass, okay? this is the division, okay? Just think of this as land. So there's grass everywhere so you can walk around. Now, I was so disconnected from my body because the river of my thoughts was like a freaking Niagara Falls, right? It was literally just like, that's what literally leads people to thinking of like, let me just jump and end it all, right? And so since my awareness, right, this is really, really important, okay? My awareness, this bubble is called awareness, and the beauty of awareness is that it can expand, it can shrink, it can change, it can also multiply, like doing two things at once, like driving and texting. Okay, my awareness was locked in over here. It was so focused on here, I didn't know how to expand to my body, right? That's what created like the spiral, right? Mental spiral. That's what happens. I literally could not budge my awareness to anything else. See, for example, you can pay attention to your feet right now, correct? Just pay attention to your feet, your toes without wiggling it. Pay attention to your heart, right? Now, this might be a little harder, but pay attention to your feet, your heart, and everything in between. You feel like that energy flow from your feet to your heart, right? I wasn't able to do that because I literally did not have the capacity to slow down, okay? And so the body, so if the river is the mind, the body is the heart. This is the center of your entire body, your heart and your guts, right? But I could not become aware of this, right? And so it's hard to like quantum leap into this when the mind is like in this state, right? So what needs to be done is we need to create a bridge between the mind and the body. And what is that fucking bridge, bro? Please never forget this, okay? This could save your life or somebody else's life, okay? That bridge, I'm just gonna draw it in red, okay? That bridge is called the breath. Okay, now this is so freaking important, okay? The breath is what unites our body and our mind. It's what creates heart and mind coherence so that everything is in line. And so I just learned to focus on my breath and I started breathing like a maniac, okay? And so over time, I started doing it every single day. Pranayama, which comes after asana yoga. After all the postures, you know, they tell you, oh, let's do some breathing exercise because that's what leads into meditation. It leads into harmony. It leads into union of the body and the mind. And that's the purpose of the breath. So the river is the mind, the breath is the bridge, and the body is the land, right? You want to be over here, right? Your awareness, the thing that is looking at, the thing that is experiencing your life, the thing that is experiencing your body and mind, you want to be able to look at your mind, right? Your mind is just a tool, right? It's not who you are, but it might seem that, oh, I'm only the mind, because if the volume and the sound is just so, the volume and the speed is so high. So I use the breath to get out of this spiral, walked over here and put my awareness in my heart as much as I could every single day, right? It's not going to be like, you know, a quick fix like what they promise you with the pill. Even pills aren't quick fixes. You have to take it for like 30, 40 days, right? But this is a natural solution, bro. The only thing that I had to do was effort by facing the fear, right? The effort of facing my thoughts, facing the fear of effort and taking action, right? Writing. And now I'm going into step 3. See, there was so much fear of letting go of my mind, right? Letting go. Because I was constantly worried, bro. Just like freaking out and confused about what do I even have to do? How do I problem solve, right? A lot of this came from problem solving, past, future, is life even worth living type shit. But I had to let go of the mind, and that was the greatest fear, because holding on to the mind seemed safe. Now, here's how I took action and how you can too, right? And this literally teaches you how to identify your fears, process them, and let it go naturally, which creates so much room for your desires to come in, right? We're just frequency, we're just magnets at the end of the day. But if your magnetic cup, if your magnetic bowl is filled, then there won't be room for dreams, your desires, your lover to come into your life. And I didn't have room because it was just filled with thoughts and the rivers of doubt and fear. But after I emptied it, I got that dream job, right? I'm still at that job today. And now I'm attracting my new life, which is to do this full time. And so there's these 3 key activities that you can do you don't have to do it in this order, but you have to do the journal and the breathwork and catharsis in a specific way, okay? So the very first thing, let's start with journaling, okay? When most people think journal, what do? Oh, my day went like this. I want to self-reflect. These are the things that I learned. That's great. Do that. But the most powerful thing that we can do is gratitude journaling. What is gratitude journaling? It is writing, I am grateful for something. You have to feel it and say, I am grateful for my water bottle, my laptop, my family that I'm visiting in India right now, right? Truly feel it, and then you have to write it in full sentences. I am grateful for minimum 3 times. Minimum 3 times, okay? But I just did entire pages, okay? And it has to be pen to paper, okay? Because writing pen to paper slows you down. And there's also a fear in writing pen to paper and writing about yourselves and writing your own emotions, right? Which was scary stuff and it felt trippy because I'm writing about how I feel. For 20, right? I was like 20 years old, 21 years old at that time. Bro, nobody ever taught me how to write about my own emotions, so that was scary. Now, what are the benefits? Bro. So all emotions are chemicals, okay? So stress releases cortisol and adrenaline. Keep this up, it's gonna lead to the inflammation, and then eventually you're gonna freaking die, right? Keep stress long enough, boom, you're done. But now, what does gratitude do, right? If you're constantly grateful, right? You want to do this in 2 ways. You want to have a dedicated practice for gratitude journaling, but you also want to feel the emotion 24/7, right? Feel it. Feel gratitude 24/7. So I started to switch my mind frame from, wow, I'm actually grateful for my family. I'm actually grateful that I even got into the #1 supply chain program in the United States, right? I just started saying what I'm grateful for, even though the river of my mind was like a tornado. And so what gratefulness does is it releases a chemical called immunoglobulin, okay? And I'm just going to abbreviate that to IG. I think it's IG1 and IG2. There's like 2 parts to it. Immunoglobulin, right? Sounds like immune system because it strengthens your immune system, okay? And that's what started my natural healing, right? And the crazy thing is, and that nobody teaches us in school, is that this thing is 2 times as strong as the flu shot, right? Our body can produce something that's twice as powerful as the flu shot just by feeling gratitude. A couple of other benefits from gratitude is that rest and recovery. It puts you in the relax mode. And spiritually speaking, it puts you in the receiving mode, right? You're only grateful when you receive something, right? Why not feel grateful first? And so the universe will be like, damn, this person, he's constantly grateful. I'm gonna just make sure he stays grateful and give him more things, right? What's that Newton law? An object in motion wants to stay in motion, right? It wants to maintain equilibrium, right? And so, but my like, you know, what my mind wanted to do was it wanted to stay in this motion because it was in there for so long and I didn't even know it. But it takes some fear. You have to battle the fear, which creates friction, right? Change equals friction. And if we reach a new equilibrium of gratitude, that's when reality starts shifting. Okay? And so your universe, because let's say you're constantly grateful now, it wants to continue being grateful, right? How does it continue to be grateful? Gratefulness manifests physically with you getting more money, more health, more job opportunities, more beautiful relationships, right? So this is the power of gratitude journaling, okay? And then what I did after gratitude journaling is a second type of journaling. I'm just gonna keep this quote short, which is called free writing, right? You just write whatever is coming to your mind live, right? Live consciousness stream, just write it down so you can understand your own river of thoughts. And that's exactly what I did every single day. You'll feel the benefits of the immune system in 4 days, okay? In 4 days, you'll feel the difference because that's how long it takes for this chemical to be released. All right, next thing, we just covered journaling. Now we're gonna cover breath work, which is a specific type of breath work, right? Which tackles fear itself, okay? Now, I wanna tell you this quick story of where is fear? Where does fear come from, right? Is it a place in our brain, right? What is the source of fear? So, you know, modern day science, because it's so material, used to believe that it's a part in our brain that lights up when we're scared, okay? And so this one scientist, and I got this from the book Breath by James Nestor. So this one scientist was like, I actually don't think that our brain is the source of fear, right? It could be something else. It might be something else, and I'm going to tell you what that is. So they found this girl who got into this accident and lost that fear part of the brain. And they tested to see if she would get afraid by, you know, spiders, making her watch a horror movie in the dark in a theater alone, and a bunch of other random experiments to scare any little girl. Nothing worked. Okay, so people started arriving to the conclusion like, yeah, it must be the brain, right? And then this breathing scientist hypothesized like, no, I think it has to do with the breath, okay? And so they put her in a clinical room and they strapped her to a chair. And they told her, they didn't tell her, they put, you know, that breathing mask on her and gave her a shot of CO2, carbon dioxide. So she inhaled a full dose of carbon dioxide, and for the first time in her life, she pulled the mask off and started screaming the loudest scream of raw fear for the first time in her life, and just ran out of the room. And the scientist was like, my hypothesis, right? It's not the part of your brain that causes fear. It's your breathing, right? Your ability to handle CO2 is fear, okay? And so this is how it affects your heart, and how you can take control of it, right? It affects your heart, nervous system, because fear is a chemical, nervous system, and let's go back to stress because this is the main killer, okay? So what it is, when your body deals with less oxygen and more CO2, your body learns to chill out, right? It becomes very efficient in using, oh, sorry, so sorry. I'm just gonna type this out. In using limited oxygen. Why are people so healthy in the mountains? Because their bodies adapt to less oxygen, okay? And what this does to your heart, it slows down your BPM, right? We want to have a lower resting heart rate, right? So the body doesn't work as hard. So this also lowers your BPM. And what it does to your nervous system, it tells it to be safe, right? It says you are safe. There's nothing to run from. There's nothing to be stressed about. There's nothing to fight, flight, or freeze about, because that's what fear does to you, right? It makes you fight, flight, or freeze, choke up. And reduces stress chemicals, which leads to the body healing, right? Now, how do you train your body to handle this? Right, okay, let's just see if this works right now. Come on. Yes, let's go. Okay, you have to train the body. How do you train the body to handle less oxygen? Through the Wim Hof breathing method. Okay, you can look up the tutorial and the guide where Wim Hof, the man himself who made this breathing popular, to guide you through the breath work itself. And what is a breath work? You do 30 reps of hyperventilating, right? And then you exhale and hold. Okay? And you do this for 3 rounds. When was the last time you exhaled and held your breath? Never, right? Because when you exhale your breath, oxygen goes down, CO2 goes up, and you're training your body to handle this. Okay? And so over time, it literally resets your entire nervous system, your heart rate, and baseline stress, right? So let's say your stress levels are mostly like here, right? It will come down to here and you will stay lower, a lower stress level, right? And this will be your default mode, right? Default mode network is your base nervous system operation. You're like iPhone settings, base iPhone settings, that's what's going to change. And so those are the 2 things you're going to have to do every single day. This is exactly what I did to change my life, which leads to the 3rd thing. These 2 lead to this. What is catharsis? It is a natural release of emotions. Okay, what does that look like? Crying, screaming, shaking, yelling. See, babies, they do this all the time, right? They're happy 1 second, and then they cry 1 second, okay? But then they go back to happy, and then they go back to cry. But they don't feel any limitations or like, oh no, crying is bad, okay? Society doesn't want you to cry, right? Because crying is weakness, right? It doesn't follow society's narrative. It just feels and lets go, right? And that's why babies are so bright and happy, because there's nothing stored, right? This stuff releases the stored emotions, right? And what I want you to do is seek catharsis. Look for it, right? Journaling and breathwork is automatically going to make you want to cry, right? Every breathwork class that I've went to, I've heard grown ass adults just wailing like a baby, right? And I could tell they haven't done it in a while, but breathing makes you do that. Journaling, when you face your past, when you face your fears through the free writing, through being grateful for what you have now, it leads to catharsis. Why not just look for it and, speed up your healing and manifesting process, right? Just look for it. Now, I'm not telling you just force yourself to cry. I'm saying use music, movie scenes, right? Memories from the past that just randomly come up, or that you should face it, but you've been shoving it away, right? So these three are the holy grail of natural healing, right? And so this is truly what changed my life, right? You clearly saw the life that I'm living right now, and the magic of breath work and exhaling and holding your breath, right? I can handle insanely cold temperatures now, which also does all the benefits of Wim Hof breathing for my heart, nervous system, and stress, right? You can do this too, bro. This is what gives you the confidence to attract anything you want in your life, because the river of your thoughts is slow and you have that mind-body connection. Okay? So journal every day, especially gratitude journal. Do the Wim Hof breathing. You can look it up on YouTube, and seek catharsis, bro. Cry fully, let it out. Be alone and just release it like a baby. Wail. Be dramatic about it. Uglier the cry, the greater the release. And I'm going to leave you with this, bro. Always remember, you are not your mind. You're not even the body. You are something that is observing and experiencing this phenomena of the body and the mind. You are infinity itself. You are awareness itself. You are that ball of light that can move, that can split, that can become bigger and smaller. All right? You are awareness. Remember that. Always remember. Peace.